Rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spinner Rack. I'm here with the crew, Cal and Petey. What's going on, guys?
What up?
Today we're looking at this new controversial news that dropped out this week. You know, New Gods has been canceled, and so has The Trench. So I don't know what The Trench is, but I'm going to push this on to my boy Cal to give us a little explanation of what happened this week, what DC's moves, and we'll discuss it once more with the team. Yo, Cal, putting the next to you.
Well, you may have heard that New Gods and The Trench being a spinoff or a story that, or rather, a film was supposed to spin out of the success of Aquaman, have been canceled. Now, canceled in Hollywood can mean a whole bunch of things, but as of right now, it means these films are not happening. We were supposed to see them in a certain given time. It's not happening. So it's not that it's been postponed or we're going to see it later. It's not happening. If they decide to pick it up years from now, that doesn't mean this was an extension of something. It's not happening. So we're not going to spin doctor on that. Now, question we want to get as to why it's not happening. Well, the deal is that these films, unfortunately, still lean very heavily into the Zack Snyderverse. And that Snyderverse is coming to a close. And one of the reasons why it's definitely coming to a close is because of that 4-hour debacle we call the Snyder Cut. See, that Snyder Cut right over there produced some reactions that, to be quite honest, the studio's been trying to get away from since Batman versus Superman. But so much of that universe has Snyder, which a lot of people don't realize. He's been sitting on all of those films, okay? All of those films from Man of Steel all the way to now. He's had involvement with all of those films and would have had involvement with these two as well. If these two films come out as they were, because there's no way you can do New Gods and not have to deal with Darkseid, not have to deal with Steppenwolf, not have to deal with the effects that these guys did in terms of what we saw in these films, most recently with Justice League. And they're trying to get away from it at the end of the day. So they're going to be canceled. We're not going to see them. And if you want to know why, it's because DC is making a hard pivot away from the Snyderverse.
So that's how you look at this right here.
That's not how I look at it. That's it.
Well, there is some language. I mean, there's definite truth to what Cal is saying. The only thing is in the language of it, saying not moving forward, saying that they, if they would pick these things back up, they would pick them up with Ava DuVernay's, with her. But at the same time, it doesn't, in Hollywood, it doesn't make any sense. And it's leaving the door open, but at the same time, she'll probably be on some job, and she, in the timeline that they have, she don't have time to wait around for DC. So that would be the thing. They're allowing her to sort of make the move without them making the move, because they're, can't say it, they're being soft, and they're not saying canceling or saying we're going a whole new direction. They're putting these things on hold, and we can't get the New Gods. Even if it wasn't in a form that I would definitely necessarily like, I would like to see I'd like to see the New Gods on film at some point. So the language of it is that they're not ready to completely take away from this sort of thing, but they never really completely get rid of these directors, because James Wan is still doing Aquaman too. Yeah. But at the same time, with them saying that they're not moving forward, it kind of kills everything, because it's like they're allowing these directors to say, what, he's doing, James Wan is doing Mortal Kombat. So if Mortal Kombat blows up and there's Aquaman 2 blows up, what happens next? Is that a thing where you have to say yes? Or he'll be like, you already went to press. Why would I do anything with you guys? I'll take the money from here and I'll move on to all this, Mortal Kombat 4 and 5,
just to jump in, they don't have any problem with these guys directing. They probably want to work with those guys. They're trying to get away from this other cat. And if James Wan comes, look, James Wan is probably still gonna have a very, productive time with Warner Brothers. Okay, and if they were to revisit him, like, hey, can we do this right over here? He probably, depending on his schedule, he'd be like, yeah, sure. Or, look, no, I'm too busy, I can't do it. That ship sailed, whatever it is. But he'll still be able to make those films. What puts them in the lurch, however, is this dude over here, Zack Snyder. And we know that his when they were doing Avengers, I think this is around the time of Captain America, the first Avenger, Josh Whedon had to sit in on just about every film to make certain there was all of this continuity. When Avengers came out, all of that worked. Okay. And then he did the same thing when it was leading up to the second Avengers film. So when you're like executive producing and you're directing the bigger films, you usually have input on all of that stuff to try to make certain that there's cohesion based on what we just know from the situation with the Avengers films. That was a lot of films. But I don't think it's any different right over here. And they are trying to make this hard pivot from the whole thing. Now, Mortal Kombat looks like that's going to be pretty successful. You already have Aquaman in the pocket. And you got these guys over here, they're turning in money. To be honest, they're doing a better job of turning out. I mean, Aquaman made $1 billion first go out. Okay. And this is that character's first film. And it makes a really big splash. Wonder Woman, same thing, really big splash, her first film, even though there's more name recognition for Wonder Woman. So what do you want as a studio? We want more of that. You want more of, okay, we're getting the money, we're also getting the critical recognition, audiences like it, we want to move over there. Snyder stuff has some really big baggage, and not just in terms of the overall films, okay, I mean, we already discussed the whole thing with, like toxic fans and such, but you got this fan base over here that can't be that large at the end of the day, but is quite vocal, very vociferous, and wanting to throw scat at anything that's not Snyder stuff. So if the film comes out, James Wan does the film, and the film doesn't necessarily, do excellent, what are they going to do? These guys are going to cop a squat, hurl scat, and say, no, see, Snyder should have done everything at the end of the day. So you need to get away from that. Or at least that's what it is that they're trying to do. They're trying to get away from that so they have the freedom to actually create. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see these two guys capped again, for stuff in the future if their schedules are amenable to it. I'm not disagreeing with anything that Petey was saying at the end of the day. I just felt and you just had to jump in on the whole thing that we could probably see these two guys again. But the main point is they're really trying to get away from this Snyderverse over here so they can go and have the freedom to do this other stuff.
I don't know. What I've read, it's not necessarily Snyderverse. It's just that I mean, let's go back. Let's start with James Wan and The Trench. The Trench basically is a horror, film for using the trenched creatures from Aquaman, right? They wanted to use that as the basis of the film. We don't know what the full story was, how they were going to go about it. And I guess they just decided, hey, let them just focus on Aquaman 2 and do what else he has to take care of. Because I think Aquaman 2 is supposed to be coming out in 2023 or something like that. And Ava DuVernay, her, the question is, do they really want to bet on the new gods at this time, and her? And they were saying something about the budget being, the story being bigger and the budget being bigger than expected. That can be a common excuse. So they can get out of it naturally, but doesn't say that it's Snyderverse that's going on to it, because they're still going to be doing other films that are going to be based or somewhat derivative of Snyderverse. We're having Shazam coming up. We're having the anti-hero Black Adam, which is kind of related to that. We have the Flashpoint movie that's going to be coming out. So I don't see this as a black mark against the whole Snyderverse. I think depending on how things go on and how people receive the Snyderverse, you may see other projects go forward. There's a lot of movies they currently have that they're planning to make for superhero films coming out. Just to name a few: Suicide Squad, again a Snyderverse derivative film. The Batman Matt Reeves is different. That's going to be coming out too. We have they say they're making a Blue Beetle.
Did you say Superman?
Sorry, Superman. I meant Shazam. My bad.
But those are non-Snyderverse things, though, aren't they? They don't have any connection to the Snyderverse. They don't have any connection to the Snyderverse, so it's not really something that you can.
Well, currently they don't. We don't know. We don't know yet.
They're not going to.
They don't have the dark feel of it.
We may not be stamped with a dark feel, but we don't know until we see it. But I'm just saying we're jumping ahead of the gun and saying, and I think that a lot of things is that we're going to see as we find out more about this whole Snyderverse, we'll find out whether or not it did any numbers in terms of subscription or sales for Warner Brothers. I don't necessarily think this is a repudiation of the Snyderverse.
Yeah, it is. If the Justice League film did as well as all these people purported it to do, trust me, it'd be full steam ahead. This guy would have his clearance. He's got his walking papers. It's not we're jumping the gun. That gun got sounded off the second that this film was released. And the handwriting is on the wall at the end of the day. you can be, and this isn't to torch Snyder, okay? Say his films are awful or anything, but the guy had his, no, it's not. It is what it is. He had his shot. He's had more than enough films at this point to put out, to have his involvement in, to have his production, to have his, production skills at, and this is where we're at the end of the day. We do not have a cohesive universe. Okay, you have something that it makes some people very, very happy, and the majority of people blah, and some people very unhappy at the end of the day. It's too polarizing a situation. It's not something that you can continue to build off of. That's just, that's just what it is at the end of the day. If this was something where people were coming in, and the minority, I'm like the minority, like, oh, well, look at this story, it's not good, but everybody else is like, no, it's just a lot of fun, we're having a good time with it, at the end of the day, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The problem is it's not making the connection it needs to make with audiences. And when you're bringing up Flashpoint, it's no secret, okay, and they've already said this, Flashpoint is the last film because that is supposed to be the hard reset. That's the film that allows them to get away from everything and go off into the future and leave all of this stuff behind it. Snyder knows it. Anybody who's read Variety or Forbes knows it. So it's not a secret the direction that everything is going into. It's not that we're jumping the gun. We're just trying to keep pace with the bullet.
I'm still on that line, but anyway, we can also look at what he's producing. He's not connected to Flashpoint. He's not connected to anything. He's a bunch of things that are announced, but he's not connected to the Batman film. The last,
No.
So that's the thing. And the stuff that's in Wonder Woman, which possibly could have had Darkseid in it, because it's obviously G. Gordon Godfrey in there. All the idea would seem like it was exercised for this wish thing and this Mayan thing, which is basically anytime Hollywood needs something, they throw say, hey, what about the Mayans? Can we do something with the Mayans? So
a large spider.
So they have the only, like, even though the untitled DC film, Gotham Sirens, and this Deadshot thing, which I don't know if any of those things get any closer to being made, which would be insane. But
it's kind of funny you're saying that. I'm looking at a whole nother chart, and they have him as the Flash as an executive producer. They have him down listed.
Maybe so. Maybe you're right.
You keep bringing up the Flash, and that's the last film. That is the last film. That's the film supposed to end it. You keep bringing up the ending film. What's coming after that? He's showing you all of the stuff that's coming after that. There's no argument about that. You're bringing up the Flash. That's the film that's supposed to put a close. That's the coda on this.
It's too early to name all the other. That's the point I'm trying to make. Okay? That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's the thing. If something happens, it's hard to say what would be. I mean, if they were able to close off the Nolan-verse, they should be able to totally close off the Snyderverse, because the Nolanverse made them a ton of money, and they were able to say, you know what, you'll just be an exec producer. We don't really want you, and he didn't want to. He wanted to do other things too, but they seem to be happy instead of saying, here, do Man of Steel. Please do Man of Steel for us. Show us your vision of Superman. They're like, you know what? We got our Watchmen guy. Come on, let's let our Watchmen guy do it. Our Watchmen guy with Superman? That's $1 billion right there. And you want me to keep going? And Batman versus Superman? That's like $2 billion.
Yeah, how could we not get to $1 billion with the first movie to feature both Batman and Superman in the first movie? How could we not make those numbers? And Snyder showed exactly how you don't make those numbers. He showed that exactly at the end of the day. And then look at the films that made the money for him. Wonder Woman, Aquaman. Okay? You tell me. Anybody sitting down and like, wait a minute. We get Batman and Superman in the same film. We can't crack $1 billion. We put this dude over here in an orange and green suit that nobody's ever heard of, and that makes $1 billion. Okay, it's like, okay, where's the common thread through all of this? What is the one commonality? And it's you, Snyder. Snyder. So But I mean, as much as I don't enjoy this guy's stuff, you had your shot. You had your shot. You had your shot at the plate. Okay. You had more than enough swings at the plate. Okay. What is it? You never got on base with any of this stuff. Okay. It's time to go. It's time to go.
Well, I would also say
You see, I think I kind of disagree with you. He's made over $4 billion off of the Snyder.
What do you not agree on? He said he compared two movies, right? He just compared two movies, Wonder Woman and Aquaman.
So, I mean, that's just
Man of Steel and Batman v Superman.
Well, this is his normal line. I can't beat him here, so now we got to go to the money. Then I'll beat him at the money. Then he's going to go to Rotten Tomatoes. Then after the Rotten Tomatoes, he's going to, I'm going to really fake him out. I'm going to bring it back to the films again, and then the money, and then Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm going to keep him skipping around this maypole, skipping my loo, until he finally gets tired. It doesn't matter. The money is the reason why he's been around as long as he has. We already discussed that. It's time to go. They want a different direction. It's time to go.
I'm not going to go around this circle with you, but clearly the man has made a lot of money for DC. Whether you agree or disagree, there's a lot of money been made.
Yeah, that's why he stayed around. That's why he stayed around so long. That's why he's going to be making Dave. That's why he's going to be making. What is it coming down the pike? He's got what? Dave the Dead, Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I mean, what's his name? James Wan. James Wan is going to keep making films for Warner Brothers because they're gonna. This dude's making money for them. He's not going anywhere. They're not trying to get rid of him.
He's originally a horror director, and so now the guy who runs Warner Brothers,
You're talking about Zack Snyder, not James Wan, right?
No, I'm talking about James Wan. James Wan was a horror director.
What he did Star Trek. What else he do?
He started off doing horror. That was what he started off in the horror genre.
Isn't he the?
And so the guy,
Fast and the Furious guy.
I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but the bottom line is James Wan is making money for them. He's going to stick around. He's going to stick around.
The one who runs the division now started in the horror genre too with Wan, and so I think his name is Hamada, the guy who runs.
Oh, you're talking about because he did Saw. He did a Saw.
Right, it's pretty good. And so
what point are you trying to make?
Let me say what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the guy who runs the whole thing worked well with Hamada. Hamada was the guy who runs the whole Warner Brothers now, and he worked with Wan, and they've had a very successful partnership, particularly because the horror division that did very well for Warner Brothers, and they're going to bring that up, and they're bringing people from those areas to do more films.
He did horror as his in. That was his in to Hollywood. He did a very short.
I'm not sure what point you were trying to make there. I'm not sure what point you were trying to make there. He's making money for them. They're not sending him anywhere. He made $1 billion with Aquaman. They want him around. He's making money. Okay, that's the same reason why Snyder's not going anywhere. But he's not going to be on these DC properties anymore. He's done with that. You had your shot.
I can't be the only person fighting for Snyder. Let's move on. Anything else on this guy?
There's people fighting for him, but the problem is that we can't just look at it and be like, "Hey, this makes sense," because it doesn't. You can fight for him, but then it's like, I don't know. It's almost. You have to remember that the campaigns to keep things alive, like the thing they kept alive, like Star Trek, wasn't something that was maintained. It was the people, the fans who, wrote in and it kept it one season, but it was not going anywhere. But then it found a new audience later on. But it's like those things help and they get their things going. We got our Snyder cut out and we got to see it and whatnot. It's obviously wasn't the original cut he was planning on doing, but he added more stuff to it. He added more bells and whistles and got that done. But it's over. Unless they change their mind, which they've left the door open to change their mind. But these sort of tactics is saying that they don't want to move forward. That's the problem. What do you just look at? Just tell me. Just say what you want me to give you the whole so you can put up your stats. Because you're like, I'm talking, and you're just like,
yeah. You can see. Look at You can see the reflection in the glasses. You can see all those screens flipping, all those tabs.
I'm just saying that with a 95% Rotten Tomatoes score with 25,000.
Look, Rotten Tomatoes. Which magazine is that Rotten Tomatoes?
you guys, you guys just want to dump on a film, and I think that's
Went to Rotten Tomatoes.
Look, all I can say is we have to agree to disagree. Spinnerack
out.
What?
I'm just ending. We gotta end this thing.
Yeah, all right.